Hi, my name is Mariella Marie, and as always, super excited to roll into this next hour with you all. Our guest speaker is calling from Nigeria today, and I know she's got a lot of knowledge she's going to share with us. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'm actually going to take notes as well. And I know we've got a lot of folks joining us live, as well as folks who are rewatching this video later and taking notes there. So before we go into the live Q&A, I just want to go over some quick housekeeping guidelines so that we can all stay comfortable and confident in this next hour. So those of you who are joining live, we'd love for you to participate. You can participate in a number of ways. You can turn on your cameras if you feel called to do so. You can write in the chat whenever you've got something you want to share, any reflections, any of your own tips and tricks, any links to resources as well. Please use the chat box so that we make sure we can hear from you live today as you are taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. If you're rewatching this, great. You can still participate by dropping anything in the comments. We do read those comments, and we would love to just hear what you think about this conversation and hear you reflect with us as well. So if you signed up for this conversation, be looking out for a rewatch email that will include a link to this recorded chat. It will also include any links to resources that our guest speaker might bring up throughout the hour. So be looking out for that rewatch email, and then you can share the video with your community, with your family, your friends, your colleagues, your mentors and mentees as well. So be looking out for that rewatch email. And if anyone would like to hop off mute at any point in this conversation, we'd love to hear from you. Just let me know by raising your emoji hand. If you don't know how to raise your emoji hand, no worries. Just write in the chat box, either public chat or private chat. Let me know you'd like to be added to the queue to hop off mute, and I will add you to the queue. And as time allows, I will give you permission to hop off mute and voice your question or your reflection. Now, if you do hop off mute, you will be featured in our live recording as this is being recorded. And if anyone has any sensitive information and you prefer to be kept anonymous, you can write to me privately in the chat box. You can find me under Mariella Marie. You can write to me privately there, and I will raise your question or your reflection to our guest speaker and keep you anonymous. All right, before I pass the mic to our guest speaker today, I'll just take a few moments to introduce myself. If this is the first time you're joining a conversation where I'm moderating here at Power to Fly, I just, you all know if you've joined before that I love bringing our conversations back to emotional intelligence at home, at work, and at play, and how we can develop and deepen our emotional intelligence. A lot of folks call them soft skills. Some are petitioning to transfer them to power skills or essential skills. So if anyone wants to reflect or philosophize on emotional intelligence and how we can deepen that practice in the workplace and at home in our communities, feel free to reach out to me through my project that is called the Positive Force Team. You can go to thepositiveforceteam.org. You can sign up for our newsletter, or I'm also happy to connect on LinkedIn. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to our guest speaker today. Dorothy is calling from Nigeria. Let us know a little bit about yourself, what brought you here, why you're passionate about this topic, and any insight on what you'd like to highlight before we roll into our live Q&A.
Well, thank you so much, Mariella, and thank you to the Power to Fly team. I'm super excited to be here. It's my first time, and I'm hoping to come back again. So yeah, my name is Dorothy. I am a program coordinator at Wentors. That is my beautiful picture and a good day when I have a lot of makeup on. So I am super excited about women in technology, but majorly around providing diversity within our tech ecosystems and promoting the need for women to stay and grow in technology. This started to be, it was something I started to be passionate about. And this was sometime around September of 2020. And this was when I sort of came on board with the Wentors team. I got to know about a lot of need for women in technology and why they needed, the tools, the resources, and, a lot of help to stay and grow in technology. And since then, I have been in love with promoting, women in technology and just promoting women all around globally. So that is me, and that's what I'm passionate about. And yeah, I'm super excited to start this conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I know that you'll probably share more about your personal journey as you roll through these questions. But before we go into our questions, and I know you've got a beautiful presentation to get us kicked off, can you help us set the stage for today's conversation by just covering these three main points that you plan to cover? And I know we're going to go deeper into this later, but feel free to touch on whatever you'd like to at this point as well.
Great. So today's takeaways, as we had shared with you when you did register, was the first will be how a mentor can impact your professional development. Funny question is, or funny thing is, I had received the question, a curated question about how this can potentially impact you. And this is what I'm going to be touching on. How can a mentor potentially impact your life as it's in regards with your professional career? And this is what I'm going to be delving in. I'm also going to be talking about how to make the most out of that relationship. So when you do go into a relationship with a mentor, how do you make the most out of that relationship? How do you create the atmosphere and the vibe that will ensure that that relationship will last through the longer term? So that is what I'm going to cover. I also will be speaking about tips to find the right mentor for you. What are some tricks? What are some tips? What are some secrets to help you find the right mentor? And these are the three things that I will be covering. And I do hope that you stay tuned because there is a lot of information that you will learn.
I know I'm super excited to hear from you as well. So I've got, I'm gonna call out people if you got your digital notepad or if you do the old school style of old pen, get a fast writing pen, clean sheet of paper, because I know that Dorothy's going to drop a lot of knowledge today. So I know you've got a couple slides for us, and just cue me when you're ready to move on to the next slide, but please take it away, Dorothy.
Absolutely. So I did mention that the first will be impact on professional development. So how does a potential mentor impact your professional development, right? And so you will see that there is an image here. It has two men in the picture, right? And so the question is, what is this? So I will love to provide you with an Asian backstory about mentorship. And it's pretty much an origin about how mentorship came about, or probably how that name mentor came about. It's really interesting. So for those who are storytellers or love to listen to stories, well, this is a great chance for you. So it was said that a poet named Homer, so that's Homer. Homer had written a poem, and this was in ancient Greece. It dates back to at least 3,000 years ago. And so in this poem, a king named Odysseus had to go fight a Trojan War. Now, because he had to go fight a Trojan War, he needed to entrust someone that could take care of his son. And so his son is the one by the left, right? So his son needed to be taken care of. So he needed to get a guardian who could take care of his son. And there was a royal household friend named Mentor, and which is the guy on the right. So this guy named Mentor was potentially sick to take care of, the king's son, King Odysseus. However, the myth, goes further to say that there was a goddess named Athena, and Athena had to disguise herself as Mentor at some point because it is told that Mentor became old and could no longer take on the guardianship of King Odysseus' son. So in the process of this, she pretty much took over that role, and she was able to, it is said through the poem that, Athena became someone who had the ability to nurture and could self-sacrifice in a devoted manner. So I just wanted to give you that backstory on, where that name Mentor came from and how it has evolved over the years. So this is a myth, right? And this is the backstory. But now we are in the modern age, and mentorship has taken a lot of form, from unstructured mentorship to structured mentorship, to formal mentorship, to informal mentorship, to reverse mentorship, to group mentorship, and all of that. So that's the backstory and how it has evolved over the years. So the first will be, how does a mentor potentially impact your professional development? And I wrote down here that it is a mentor can help you, can be a helping hand in scaling your career. That career ladder that you want to grow, you want to climb. How can she or he do this for you? Having the right skills and experience from your mentor, having the right skills and experience from you is not enough. So it's not just about having the right skills or having the right experience, but you need actionable insights on how to deal with social politics. Now, if you're going to be in the industry, if you're going to be in the workplace, if you're going to be in the office space, you need to know the insights on how to handle office politics or social politics, right? It's so important. And this is what a potential mentor can do. Besides every other thing that has to do with impacting your career, a mentor will guide you, to hone your skills, to scale, and to advance faster in your chosen field. So a mentor does provide a wider perspective on the industry because, again, you really don't know everything. You don't know the secrets. You don't know how it works. And this is what a mentor can do for you. A mentor will, guide you on life-changing steps that will potentially put you at the right tracks, to ensure that you're moving up that ladder at a faster pace. So there is a lot around, ensuring that you scale up that career ladder. And this is what a mentor can potentially do to help your career. And this is why you need a mentor. Now, the second point is succession plan. And you may be asking, what does a mentor have to do with succession plan? Well, having a mentoring relationship actually puts you at a forefront in having an executive referral. And what does this mean? So, for example, if you do have a mentor and you have in a relationship with a good relationship with your mentor, there is a potential that your mentor will help you to get that referral for your next job. Yes, it is possible and it does work. So a mentor can help you because, again, a referral is a sure way that shows your mentor does trust you, that she can vouch for you and she can vouch for your skills and capabilities. So if a mentor is in your organization or someone who is in your life altogether that is a mentor, it is critical for you as a potential mentee to get that referral to help you, whether it is in your company, which helps with, company strategies and all of that, but it helps you to ensure that, that talent pipeline is actually up to par. So if you do have a mentor in your industry, there is a potential for your mentor to refer you and ensure that, the company's strategy is, held on tight and that the talent pipeline is actually up to speed and up to par. So it's very important when it has to do with impacting your professional development. So these are, some of the 2 points that I wanted to mention around, why a mentor or how a mentor can potentially impact your professional development.
So beautifully said, Dorothy. I appreciate the storytelling piece. If I can just reflect a little on emotional intelligence, it just, it's able to create a sense of empathy, a sense of self-awareness, because through storytelling, we often decide to see things from different perspectives. And this is definitely something to remember as we keep in mind, even that this was I love that it's influenced by a goddess. That is definitely, a story that we need to bring back into, our conversation. And it just definitely widens the possibilities. So thank you so much for kicking us off that way. And also, beautifully put as well on, why one needs a mentor. And I often say this, speaking specifically about parenting or co-parenting or just anything that has to do with, alternative education. I often find myself saying it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a kid. These days, people just, close themselves up and this is what we do in our modern world. But I love that this sense of it takes a village, I can also feel that in this idea of mentorship, at its
Absolutely.
height. So thank you for reminding us of that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next slide here.
All right. So the next slide basically talks around, how can you make the most out of your relationship? So how can you make the most out of your match? Right now, you have a mentor, but you want to know, how can you get the most out of that relationship? How can you get the most juice out of your relationship with your mentor or with your mentor? The first on my list is honesty is truly the best policy. Now, you need to be as open as possible. You need to be vulnerable with your mentor. I see a lot of women go into these relationships, and a lot of times, they hold on to a part of themselves that allows limitations, to that relationship. And the problem with that relationship is it tends to end before it even begun. Right. So this is very important that you do have an open relationship with your mentor. This has proven to be a great foundation. So honesty is the best policy because it has, grown to be a great foundation for a successful relationship with your mentor. It also allows you, it allows for honest conversations with your mentor. And honest conversations can lead to a long-term relationship where it is built on trust and built on a mutual ground, right? So as a mentor, providing, because again, you're expecting that your mentor will provide you with honest feedback. And this is why it's really, really important that you open up and that you're trustworthy when you do go into this relationships. It's a great tool to help in building your mentee or your mentor, as this leads to trust. So again, remember that if you want to make the most out of your relationship, remember that honesty is truly the best policy. Be open. The next in my list will be receptive to constructive criticism. This really means that constructive feedback actually allows you as a mentee to make progress in areas that you were that you were actually stagnant on. What I mean by this is it gives you a great insight. Again, when you do receive constructive feedback, it gives you a great insight into how you can potentially build yourself in areas for improvements. And what matters is that you don't take those feedback personally, because a lot of times a lot of women get hurt with some of the feedback that they receive from the mentors. They're too sensitive. They don't want to continue the relationship any longer, but really that shouldn't be the case, because guess what, you're trying to grow and you're trying to scale. It means that there is a hole in you that you want to have filled up. Then you need to ensure that you take those feedback, and build on the feedback. And as a mentor, if you're ever going to be a mentor, it is really important that you use non-judgmental methods when you do engage in your conversations with your mentee. Give feedback, because the opposite will be potentially the downfall of that relationship. Because when you do have judgmental feedback to your mentor, it is potentially the downfall of that, conversation, the downfall of that relationship with your mentor. So again, be receptive to constructive feedback and don't be judgmental as a mentor when you do give feedback to your mentees. And then the last would be prep. Now, what do we mean by prep? P means patience. Yes, P means patience. If you want to make the most out of your relationship, you need to be patient. Why? Because mentorship is truly a process that requires time to achieve what you want. Yes, it requires a lot of time. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a week. So you really have to be patient. You really need to commit to that relationship while, the benefits will pay off over time. Remember that it doesn't happen overnight. And so remember that you need to be patient to ensure that that relationship grows into what you expect, or better still, what you never expected, which will be beneficial to you as a mentee and to your mentor. Now, what does R mean? R means be be receptive, which means be open-minded. Being receptive means, ensuring that your strengths and your weaknesses are open to your mentor. Now, learning about your strengths and your weaknesses are just so you are self-aware for a speedy growth in your career. Now, being receptive simply means that you open up yourself to the challenges and the the feedback and everything that you should be expecting to enable you to skill, the tools, the materials, everything that is needed to allow you to skill. So be open-minded, be receptive to the process of your relationship or in your relationship. And what does E mean? E in prep means enthusiasm. I cannot emphasize this as much as possible. Enthusiasm actually creates a positive vibe, and a great energy in your relationship with your mentor. Again, it allows the relationship to actually thrive. So when you are enthusiastic about that relationship, it means that you are regularly following up with your mentee or with your mentor, that you're showing up early for your meetings, that you're checking up on your mentor, that you're sending timely results on the task, or the assignments that were given to you as a mentee. It also says that you're also sending thank you notes after your conversations or after your sessions with your mentor. So it's really important that you are enthusiastic, because this is what allows the relationship to flow and allows the mentee or the mentor to keep coming back for more. So it's really important that you are enthusiastic, that you show that enthusiasm when you are in the relationship with your mentor, to get the most out of that relationship. Now, you will hear me say a lot of times, Wentor, Wentor, Wentor. Now, I say Wentor because I work with Wentors. And now for us, Wentors, mentor is our Wentors, and Wentee is our, mentees are Wentees. So please forgive me if you hear me say that a lot of times. I do apologize. I actually know what I mean. So that's it with enthusiasm. I also wanted to share. I thought Winter was wet. I also wanted to say, the P, the last P, or the second P in prep is purpose. And what does purpose mean? It means take every minute of your relationship with your mentor seriously, with your mentor or your mentor seriously, or mentee. Coming with an action plan and following up with your action plan through and through, and dedicating yourself to your growth is actually really important. So again, remember that you are here for a reason as a mentee or as a mentor. So you need to ensure that you take every second and every minute of your relationship seriously. Again, your mentor, if it's going to be a free or a volunteering program that you're going to be part of, or you do find a mentor online who wants to share her time or his time with you for free, again, ensure that you make the most out of that relationship. So ensure that you're coming in back to back and that you're entirely serious about what you're doing in that relationship. So that's really everything I wanted to cover around making the most out of your relationship or your match.
I love the focus on this is a relationship, yes. And to treat it as such. And I'll just go even a step further. I'll say a sacred relationship, a special relationship. I mean, even you started this off with a story, a myth of a goddess that came and, was able to help someone develop, their skills and just, look out for them. So there is this, there is something that is this otherness quality that, when people decide to volunteer their time, or they do it because, they're very connected to the work, because it speaks to their heart, it's heartful in this sense, and so the intentionality there and the integrity with this relationship it's really palpable. I mean, it's really beautiful to hear you speak about it as well, because clearly, one of the questions I want to ask you a little later, some of your favorite stories or some stories that come to mind as you've been in this space, just because your vision of mentorship, or Wentorship, I should say as well, is pretty, I would say, it's intentional, and so you're centering the human, and so there's something beautiful about it, because maybe profit isn't involved, right? You're doing this because you really genuinely want to see someone succeed, and you want to share. It's a two-way street as well, so it's not just about taking or giving. And so there's so much to go with there, but I just appreciate your vision there, and that you're focusing on the fact that this is a relationship and it should be, treated as such with respect. So I think we do have one more slide. So go ahead and take us away on this slide as well.
Absolutely. So here we have the tips to finding the right mentor. So pretty much I wanted to cover what are some tips that are out there that can help you, to find the right mentor for you. One will be joining our community. Again, joining a community means joining a potential community that provides mentorship, whether it be for free or whether it be paid. It all depends on what you're looking out for your career or for your personal development, right? So you need to join a community. I work with Wentors, and this is what we're all about: community development. Ensuring that we nurture the next generation of women in technology, providing the right sort of programs that can impact them and grow them, as much as possible. Which means that mentorship is one of our core services, right? So you need to go out there and find a community. There are lots of communities out there. There are communities that help with technology. There are communities, I believe there are communities that help, outside the industry that has to do with technology. I'm not very privy to that information, but I know that it has to do with, when it has to do with technology, there has been a lot of, data bank around industries that help, whether it be coding communities, product management communities. There are lots of communities out there, and it's so important that you go on to check for those communities, do a lot of research, and ensure that you find a community that is suitable to you, a community that will help you to grow and to scale, whether it be in your professional development or whether it be in your personal development. And the second point will be create an action plan. Now, when you do find a mentor, what's the next step? The next step is, what are your goals? You need to create an action plan. So when you do join a community, you now have a mentor. But before you even begin the search for a community, you should have prepared what your goals are. What are some of the learning activities that you want to learn when you do have a relationship with your mentor, right? And what are some visible action timeline? So this would be when you do begin your relationship. What are some of the visible timelines to ensure that you do complete your goals, or you do conclude on your goals? So what are the steps in achieving all of this, activities? You need to have everything clearly stated. Now, this doesn't mean that when you do engage in that relationship with your mentor or your mentee, that he or she will not be able to, step in and sort of make corrections or recommendations to your goals or your action plans. But it just means that you're serious about what you want to do and what you want to get out of that relationship when you do. So it's really important that you create an action plan, because again, there's some of the best foundations in this. These are actually some of the best foundations in creating an action plan. So you need to ensure that before you set out to have, a mentor, create and write out an action plan and some of the goals that you want to achieve, as well as the timelines for when you hope that you want to achieve all of this before you go into that relationship. Thirdly, it will be establish a relationship. So now you have a relationship. Now you have created an action plan with your mentee or with your mentor. So you need to actually establish that relationship. And what I mean by this is, before a relationship is established, you actually should have initiated a conversation to figure out if this mentor is the right fit for you. Now, this is dependent on if the program structure or if what you're looking out for is desirous to your growth, to what you want. So if it's an unstructured relationship, or if it's an unstructured program that you're going to be going into, because there are structured programs with some communities, and there are unstructured, programs with some communities, or just, a relationship that you have with a potential mentor that you have been looking on to have a relationship with. But if you are going to be in an unstructured relationship, then it is really important that you do a research on that mentor. So do a research to see, who is this woman or who is this man? Is he the right fit for me? Or is she the right fit for me, right? Does she have the kind of experience that I'm looking out to get? Does she have the right network that I want to leverage on? So it's really, really important that you put all of this into consideration to ensure that you grow and you scale organically. And again, remember to set the goals and your expectations, as well as time commitments to establish that relationship. And then lastly, it is gratitude. Now, there is a quote by Jacques Maritain. He's a French philosopher, and he had said once that gratitude is the most exquisite form of courtesy, right? For me, this means that you need to ensure that you always say thank you for every time that you're in a session with your mentor or with your mentee, but better much the mentor. Ensure that you're always saying thank you after that session. Mentorship is not easy, so please send a thank you note to your mentor after every session. Or if it's possible that your mentor is in your region, you can ask her out for lunch or for coffee, right? Again, it's very easy, it's very seamless, but it also shows that you have great manners and that you have courtesy and that you respect her time and her dedication for everything that she is, setting up on you. So this really shows that you care about her, and that the expectations that you want out of this relationships are appreciated. So that's it for some of the tips on how to ensure that you find the right mentor.
I love this. Thank you so much, Dorothy. I appreciate your perspective. And actually, I know that we've got lots of questions that folks submitted previous to this conversation. So I'm just going to pull those up right now. And as I pull these up, folks, I want to say, if you submitted the question that you hear and you're live with us today, let us know that you're here. We just want to make sure we get the question covered. And if anyone has any questions that came up as Dorothy was giving her beautiful presentation, please drop those in the chat as well. I would also, encourage you all to network in the chat. Why not? Maybe some of you might have some more tips and tricks to share, or maybe you want to continue the conversation after that. So I'm going to also grab my LinkedIn, grab your preferred ways of connecting, drop those in the chat throughout the next 30 minutes that we have here today. And I invite you all to continue to build meaningful connections here with us. All right, so Dorothy, let's start with this first question. All right, so you did cover some of these in your presentation, so I'm just going to go down to, let's speak about timing. Because I love that you make very clear that it's a delicate relationship, and timing is important, right? That the energy you give, the enthusiasm, as you mentioned, as you give, the intentionality that you give. So let's talk a little bit about timing. Because there is an age-old saying that it's never too late. I wonder if it applies to this situation here. So I'm 60 years old and I have been working for 35 years now in the sales industry. Should older generations find a mentor who will help them to enhance their skills in their last years of career before retirement?
Right. I did see this question, and it was very fantastic. I think that yes, it is possible for you to begin mentorship at your later years. Why? Because there is something called reverse mentorship. Now, reverse mentorship basically talks about having the younger generation or a younger employee, as the case may be, to provide his or her experience or skills to someone, an executive or someone in a higher leadership position. And what this actually does is that it helps, in the reverse mentorship, it actually helps the one with the most experience, who obviously should be the mentor in this case, but now is the mentee. It allows her to actually get a different perspective on what the future work is. It also helps with, the relevant knowledge and experience that would be for the future, what the trends are that she or he should be looking out for. So in her case, absolutely, you can find a mentor. And in this, I think for you, it would really be helpful because you may actually become a consultant. So it's really important that you are aware about what the latest trends are and how you can apply those trends to your future after you become retired or after you have retired, as a mentor or as from your current place of working, right? So it's really great when it has to do with reverse mentorship. There's no age that says, or there's no age that stops people from getting mentors. There, as much as possible, get a mentor as at any age as possible, right? If you do have the resources, please go ahead and get a mentor.
I love that. The intergenerational participation in any scenario I find to be very beneficial for our collective humanity and also individually, just knowing that it's never too late to learn in general.
Yes.
So I'm always learning. And it doesn't really matter at what stage of my life I am in if I want to seek, knowledge or share with someone else, no matter how old they are, no matter where they're from. I think that's a great inclusive practice. And hopefully more folks will be open to taking that journey no matter where they are in their careers. All right, so let's move on to this next question here. I'm a doctor in the UK trying to move into tech on a part-time basis. Do I need to find a mentor who has been in my same position and who has navigated this exact situation, or could it be anyone?
Right. It actually could be anyone. Again, it all depends on what you're looking out for. First, I think why I would say it could be anyone is because you actually can get the right fit, whether it be someone who has been a doctor before and now is in the tech space, or because again, I see that you're trying to transition into technology, which is fantastic. However, it doesn't really have to be someone who has been there or done that. It really has to do with someone who can give you the right information and the right skills to help you, to guide you potentially into the right space in the industry. So it really, whoever you're able to find, but this all depends on the area of specialization. So if you're going to be someone who wants to work in, for example, product management, you can look out for someone, a mentor or a mentor who is a product manager and has the right years of experience and is willing to share her time and her resources as well as her network to help you to gain access into the industry. So again, it really does, it can be anyone. It doesn't have to be either, right? It can be anyone.
And I love that because lots of folks are transitioning into several different areas in the industry, and of course, specifically the tech industry. And we need those folks who are who can show their transferable skills. And if they need help, I think mentorship is great to help you connect the dots. Even so, even if they don't have that same experience, which I would even argue that no one has had the same experience. We all have our unique lived experiences, and that is also something that we can bring to the table with this kind of relationship. But I love that you're extending it out to, across multiple fields, across multiple generations. So this is a very it allows it to be a fertile space, right, for
Yeah.
more possibilities to happen instead of making it, very linear and, very binary. And also, I think in that case, when you do something like that, you make it more exclusive instead of inclusive. So again, love your perspective on this, and I appreciate that response. So let's move on to this next question here. Is it good to have more than one mentor? Is it advisable to have a mentor that is far away? So again, is it good to have more than one mentor? And what about distance?
Right. So it's a two-part question, and I will start with the first. So the first is it good to have more than one mentor? Yes. Again, this does depend on what you're looking out for. Um, this is because in most cases, it all depends on where you are. For example, if you are a graduate and you're seeking to, dive into the industry, yes, you do need as many mentors as possible. But again, you need to ensure that there is a balance to the amount of mentors that you're getting on board, because you are going to be getting a lot of information. You also need to ensure that you manage your time as well as your resources, with making sure that you stay consistent with all of the mentors on board, right? So it's really, really important that you can, again, you can get as much mentors as possible, but ensure that there is a balance and that they are covering each and every one of your goals for what you're looking out to get out of that relationship. The second part to the question was, is it advisable to have a mentor that is far away? Absolutely. Again, I will say that this all depends on, it all depends on if your mentor, if who you were looking out to have as a mentor is not in the same time zone or in the same region as you are. So it does, and again, we are in a space of virtual, virtual world. So it gives you the ability to actually have a relationship with someone who is outside your region. That's one of the things that I love about the programs that we do. It's a virtual program, it's global. So you're able to actually meet with someone outside your region. And so, yes, you can have someone who's outside your region, and ensure that when you do have such relationships, that you are getting the most out of that relationship, and that you are staying, I would always say, to stay consistent all through the way. This is how the relationship will last longer.
I love that. And we did get a question earlier about boundary setting. So maybe if we have time, we'll get to that. But that's a clearer indicator of, making sure you don't bite off more than you can chew and then end up,
Right.
not being able to participate or develop the relationship because of your, lack of time, or you've got too many balls in the air. Actually, we've got a question in the chat based on your reflection there. So what if both mentors are giving contradicting guidance?
Right. So this is where, again, that's why I mentioned that you need to be able to do your research. Make sure that you get the best research, feedback before you actually engage with your mentor. But when you do when you actually do engage in that relationship, and you see that both mentors are actually contradicting themselves, this is where you know that there has to be a limit to what you share with each mentor. Again, you are at the receiving end most of the time as a mentee, so it's really important that why, who actually is giving me the better information, right? And who is not giving me the better information. Now, I'm not saying that the one who is not giving you the better information means that she doesn't know what she's saying or she doesn't have anything to offer you. No, it all means that you need to navigate better and realize that she may have strengths that will be beneficial for you. So you are the one who would actually change the course of your journey and make sure that it becomes beneficial for you in that relationship. So if you see that, again, they are contradicting themselves, hey, it's a good way for you to actually decide, how do I get the most out of this woman? And how do I make sure that I, navigate this relationship to benefit me so I don't lose out all the way? I hope
I
that answers
actually
your question, Mary.
Oh yes, your reflection is great because it as you're speaking, I can visualize, if someone in this case has two or more mentors, and it's kind of
Mhm.
like a board. You're like, what do you all think I
Yes,
should do? And then you can take their wisdom and decide for your own, what you want to do
absolutely.
based on their insights. So I love that as well. It's interesting. It probably changes a lot of the dynamics.
Mhm.
So thank you for that question, that live question in the chat. That's great. All right, so everyone, we've got about 15 minutes left. I told you all that time would fly. So if you have any questions that have come to mind, you've got about 15 minutes left to drop them in the chat, or if anyone wants to hop off mute, just let me know, as we would love to hear from you today. All right, so let's move on to this next question that I love this question. This is uh, this is just a great question. So I appreciate the person who submitted this. How do I add value to my mentor and help them become better? How can I give back?
Right. This is a great question because most times, most mentees will go into relationships not knowing really what to do, or thinking that they will be getting 110% and giving in zero, into that relationship, which is actually untrue. In most cases, the one of the ways that, or there are many ways that you can give back value to your mentor, and I believe one of the ways will be with your consistency and enthusiasm. Now, again, you will probably ask, how does this give value? It really means that you are challenging your mentor to be better. When a mentor sees that you are enthusiastic about the relationship, it means that you're coming on every single time, asking questions around, your goals, how to get the goals done. She gives you assignment and she gives you tasks, and you're always coming back with results. It puts your mentor on her toes and builds her leadership skills as well as her coaching skills. So it's really important that you know that when you do go into these relationships, you need to ensure that you give as much value as possible. And one of the ways that seems so insignificant that it's, but is actually significant, is being consistent and actually giving as much enthusiasm as possible in that relationship. I think another way will be, sending thank you notes. It is value. You're telling her that I value your time, I value your dedication, and that I value, the knowledge and the skills that you've shared with me. And this goes a long way to make her realize that she is actually impacting someone's life. Because again, we are humans, and that's one of the things that we want to do in this world. We need to make sure that we give back as much as possible, and that's how you create value.
I love that. And you've spoken about, without saying this, you've spoken about setting our boundaries when we're seeking, mentors.
Mhm.
And I would love to reverse that question, because we do have a question here that was submitted speaking to boundaries, but on the other side. So how can we know if we or our mentor is overstepping boundaries in our relationship?
Great. So before you actually begin a relationship with your mentor, one of the things that I would usually advise is you need to have a set of rules that is agreed by both of you. So, for example, what's the best time to communicate with you? What are some topics that you're comfortable discussing, and what are some topics that you're not comfortable discussing, right? And making sure that you understand that trust is so significant in that relationship, which actually means that you both will agree. There is a mutual agreement that whatever discussions that you make, or whatever discussions that is said in that conversation, that it's not taken out of context, or it's not taken to a third party. Because in most cases, a lot of times, most people do not want to be vulnerable or to open up totally in that relationship or in their relationship, because they believe that whatever will be discussed will be shared with a third party, right? And so these are some of the things that you need to consider when you do go into a relationship with your mentor or with your mentee, ensuring that you do have some set ground rules that will guide, your conversations, that will guide your sessions, ensuring that you know when is the next meeting session, what are you comfortable discussing, and, agreeing that we're not going to be sharing what we share today to a third party.
I love that. The building trust when in so many spaces, it seems like we're just working on rebuilding trust all across, across the board, across the globe.
Yes.
And what a great moment, opportunity in this relationship as mentee mentor to practice building trust together, right? So I appreciate that call out there and call in to practice trust in that relationship. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left. I've got a couple more questions that were previously submitted. So I just want to make sure that, our live callers here get to write any questions in the chat as well. So if and otherwise, go ahead and drop your preferred ways of connecting if you haven't already in the chat. All right, so this question here. Life is busy, right? And now that we're able to do things virtually, maybe it just, it's 10 times more busy because we can be available, at any time. So I think to this question here, I think this question speaks more to availability and just how to reach out to someone if you see that they're, pretty busy in their world. So how to attract or ask someone to be your mentor when they receive a lot of requests and it is difficult to get in touch with them because of how good of a mentor they are. Any tips?
So again, this is really tricky, and I hope that I do justice to this question because I really cannot imagine how much how much will go into writing a potential email to your mentor or trying to get your mentor to speak to you. Again, I think the best way to actually go around this and make sure that you're able to get a response from your mentor, I believe it's all about, how you position and how you, write that request to have your mentor reach out to you. It can be via email, it can be via LinkedIn. I believe those are the two ways that you can potentially reach out to a potential mentor. And again, I will say that it all depends on how you construct your message to your mentor. A great message will always come back with a fantastic response, right? It may not be immediately, but it will definitely come back to you. So I think this has to do with ensuring that you're able to get the best method of writing and structuring your message when you do share that with your mentor, whether it be via mail or via LinkedIn. And ensuring that you create a brand for yourself, which makes your mentor want to reach out to you. So ensure that it's two ways now. So the structure of your message, as well as creating the brand for yourself that makes you, enticing enough for the mentor to want to reach out to you and get to know about you, or maybe have a coffee break with you. Yeah.
I love that. And just because we've got a couple minutes left and we've already gotten through all of our questions, thank you for doing such a thorough job in your presentation and also just speaking to, your personal tips and what you've been able to see in the work that you do. I'd love to, ask you on a more personal level for your career journey. What have been some highlights, some moments that, let you know that you're on the right path, that you are doing this work that you have been called to do, that you're interested in doing? And even better yet, where do you see the future of mentorship based on, your perspective?
Right. So I guess some of the highlights for me would be, I think it's the feedback that I receive from the mentees. They're just fantastic feedbacks that will get to you. Most times I read the feedbacks and it makes me want to do more. Sometimes I feel as though I'm not doing enough, because you see a lot of women out there in the world that are looking for a space just to be mentored by someone. And a lot of times when I do receive the feedback from them to say, thank you so much for making me to be part of the program. I received a lot of feedback from my mentor. I was able to get a job. My mentor was able to open me up to her network. That really does come back to us to say, you are doing something right, that I am actually in the right part. right? And this is what keeps me going. I really love to receive such feedback. So that's usually that is the most highlight for me, and I just love when I receive those feedbacks. I love them. Absolutely. The other question was, what's the future of mentorship? I believe the future of mentorship is actually here, and but it's going to be better. It's going to be better because we see that a lot of women are having to, especially as it has to do with women, because we know that the numbers of women in the tech industry now, I will say tech industry because that's where I am. We see that the number of women in the tech space are, the parity is not as much, or there is a gender disparity that has to do with this. So we want to make sure that we have more women in technology, but I think the future of women shows that there will be a lot of women in that space, in the C-suite levels, in the managerial roles, and that's the future of technology for women. I'm so excited to see that, because of what we have as a community, as Wentors. I'm so excited to see that. And it's going to be a fantastic time for us. And I can't wait to be there.
I love that. Thank you so much for giving us your vision of the future. I agree. We need more stories. We need more inclusivity, more transparency, vulnerability, and I think this is a great relationship to practice some of those, soft skills and hard skills as well. So I know that folks might continue to have questions, but since we are running short on time, can you let us know how we can connect with you? And also, what are you all working on these days that you'd like to share in these last couple moments, just, to talk about the work that you all are doing, and so we can support?
Great. So yeah, you can connect with me via LinkedIn. We will share that resource post, the program. But right now, you also can share, connect with us via our website, which is www.wentors.com. Wentors, that's Wentors. Wentors.com, right? So that's how you can connect with us, or you can connect with me via LinkedIn. We're actually working on our next cohort. It's going to be a group mentoring session. It's called the We Discovered Tribe Mentorship. We're going to be opening up the portal in June the 8th. I believe that's next week, Wednesday. So for those women who have 0 to 2 years of tech experience, you are welcome to apply for this mentorship. You're welcome to come on board. It's going to be a small cohort. It's also going to be, a fantastic program. It's for 4 weeks. You will be paired with one mentor. So it's a group mentorship program. So there will be other mentees attached to your mentor, but it's going to be a fantastic infused program because, as usual, we have soft skills training, and for this year we will be having storytelling, which I totally love. So I cannot wait for that, for that session. And yeah, that's really what we're working on, aside other things that we have on board. But I want to, advise you and, have you come on board. Please go ahead and register. The portal will be open next week. There is a pre-registration form, so we will contact you via that form. If you go to our website, you will see that. So yeah, welcome on board.
I love that. Join the future of mentorship with Dorothy. Such a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking time. I know it's evening time over there where you're calling from. Yes. So happy evening, and good luck with all of the great work that you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing this conversation with us today. All right, everyone. I advise you to connect with Dorothy. Go ahead and sign up for what they've got in store. And